Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar about Parkinson's, understanding Parkinson's in 2023 and beyond. Really looking forward to this one. It's going to be very interesting. So we're hosting it. We're Vivid Care. We're hosting it, and we're hosting it alongside Parkinson's UK. So just a quick reminder for those of you who've been on the webinars before, and possibly to anyone who hasn't, we're about who we are. So we're Vivid Care. We've been supporting healthcare for the sector for over 50 years. Up until last year, we were doing it as Yorkshire Care Equipment, which may be a name that's more familiar to some than Vivid Care. And we've been doing it for a long time. So we've got a lot of heritage and history in this, and our specialisms are in seating, falls protection, rehabilitation, and mobility. We are also a part of the Core Care Group, which not everyone knows, with a sister company in Overcare Concepts, who specialise in hoisting and installed projects, and a third-party specialist healthcare logistics company, Dependall, and an adaptations company who do bathroom adaptations called Aquadapt. At the end of this, we're going to have a little bit about how to actually seat patients with Parkinson's disease. So just hold on for that. But in the meantime, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Alex Edwards and Laurel Miller from Parkinson's UK. And we're going to find out a lot more about Parkinson's and the condition and how to manage that. And I'm really looking forward to finding out more about it. So I'll hand over now to you, Alex and Laurel. Thank you very much in advance.
Thank you, Graham. Hopefully everyone can see that all right and hear me okay. Thank you for having us. It's really great to see how many people have registered for this session. Great to see you all. I'm Alex Edwards. I am the Research Participation and Engagement Manager at Parkinson's UK. I'll pass over to Laurel to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Laurel Miller. I'm a person with Parkinson's. I was diagnosed in 2014 at 57. I just want to say one or two things about Parkinson's. Getting a diagnosis of Parkinson's can be devastating. It's a long-term degenerative neurological condition, and it often leaves people like myself feeling powerless. But the fact is that there are certain things we can control in our lives if we taught what to do. And research has shown so far that exercising, eating a good diet, socializing, trying to sleep as well as we can, and taking part in research can give us back some more control over our lives and help us to live better for longer with this devastating condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel. So as Laurel said, we're going to talk a little bit about what we think currently are the causes or could be the causes of Parkinson's. We'll talk a little bit about research that's currently ongoing, looking at trying to find something that can help stop and slow the progression of Parkinson's, and also treatments and therapies that can help to reduce and manage symptoms of Parkinson's. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you might be able to encourage your patients or people that you know with Parkinson's to take part in research and kind of empower them to find research to take part in for themselves as well. So to start off with, Parkinson's is a condition where cells in the brain become damaged and start to die. So cells in an area of the brain called the substantia nigra have the most impact in people with Parkinson's. These cells produce a chemical called dopamine, and the lack of dopamine can lead to some of the over 40 symptoms that are currently associated with Parkinson's, and particularly movement symptoms such as tremor or freezing. So currently we don't have any treatment for stopping or slowing the progression of Parkinson's. All treatments that we currently have focus on ways to either boost or replace the amount of dopamine available in the body to use. But these treatments only tackle the symptoms. They don't tackle the underlying issue of cell death. So one of the issues when it comes to finding a treatment for stopping or slowing the progression is that we're still not really sure what causes Parkinson's. The majority of people with Parkinson's have what's known as idiopathic Parkinson's, or Parkinson's with no known cause. A small minority of people might have inherited or like a hereditary form of Parkinson's, and that's one that's passed on down generations of the same family. But for most people with Parkinson's, it's likely that the causes are a combination of genetics and environmental factors. So although we don't know what the cause of Parkinson's is, it doesn't mean that we don't have some really good clues. In the last 50 years of Parkinson's research, we've identified a number of avenues for further study, and that can help us understand exactly what's happening in the brain cells of people with Parkinson's and start to bring us closer to finding new ways to tackle what's going wrong and what's causing that cell death. So some research evidence has found that the mitochondria, which is the cell battery which produces and provides energy to the cell, that might work differently in people with and without Parkinson's. And so the difference suggests that there might be ways of boosting or repairing the mitochondria, so those cell batteries of people with Parkinson's, to try and prevent some of the cell death. So that's one possible cause. Other researchers found that some people with Parkinson's have a buildup of a protein in some of their cells, and that protein is called alpha-synuclein. And when sticky clumps of alpha-synuclein, these proteins, start to form together, it can start to damage the cells, and that can lead to their death. So knowing this, some research projects are looking at ways to boost the cell's cleaning system to clean out those sticky clumps of protein, those sticky clumps of alpha-synuclein that are causing the cells damage, and also try and prevent the clumps from forming in the first place. And then another one is there's also some research that suggests for some people, Parkinson's might start in the gut. So before any damage is seen to the cells in the brain, it might start in the gut. So clumps of alpha-synuclein, that protein that's associated with Parkinson's, have been seen in the gut of some people with Parkinson's. And research is underway right now to understand why the clumps form and how they might travel to the brain from the gut. And understanding this might help us find ways of treating Parkinson's sooner and also potentially slow down the progression of the condition. And then lastly, some research is now looking at whether the immune system might be involved in the development of Parkinson's. We've seen this in a few other long-term conditions like diabetes. If inflammation is sort of overactive, it can cause damage to the cells. And by understanding what causes this inflammation and working to get it under control, we might be able to prevent this brain cell damage. So we at Parkinson's UK are funding lots of research projects at the moment, looking to explore all of these clues to what might cause Parkinson's and how we can slow and stop the progression. We are currently the largest charitable funder of Parkinson's research in Europe. And at the moment, we're funding nearly 50 research projects across the UK and beyond internationally as well. All of the projects that we fund are evaluated by a panel of research experts and people living with Parkinson's, and all the research that we fund is chosen based on the priorities that people with Parkinson's have told us are important. So that includes sort of different stages of research, all the way from looking at cells in a dish to studying whole populations of people in clinical trials. The research we fund aims to improve our understanding of how Parkinson's changes things in the brain, which will hopefully give us new clues on sort of targets to develop treatments or find ways to diagnose the condition sooner as well. So as well as building our understanding of Parkinson's, we know we need more treatments that can help people improve their everyday right now as well. So we have a specific funding stream that looks at ways to improve quality of life now without the need for drugs. So that's through things like using apps, using gadgets, using exercise. As Laurel mentioned, exercise is really important in Parkinson's. And through sort of speech and language therapy and other therapies that can make a difference to people's lives now when we don't have currently a treatment to stop and slow the progression. And you can find a full list of the research that we're supporting on our website if you're interested as well. So just going back to some of the clues that we talked about, what the causes of Parkinson's might be. So we really desperately need new treatments that can help slow or stop the progression of Parkinson's. And that's something that no current treatment can do, as I mentioned before. And that's why we're funding a number of projects looking to find ways to tackle some of those problems, those causes, and those clues that we've already identified. So at the moment in Cambridge, we're funding a study using mice to understand how those clumps of protein, those alpha-synuclein, might travel from the gut to the brain, and also whether any other conditions might make this more likely as well. Like if you maybe have a certain type of bacteria present in the gut, it might make that travel of those sticky clumps from the gut to the brain more likely. And if once we can understand that, we might be able to prevent damage to the brain cells or at least slow down that damage associated with Parkinson's. And then in Edinburgh, we're funding research that's trying to understand how these clumps of protein start to stick together, because that's what causes the issue and why. And an ongoing project in London as well is trying to find ways to boost that self-cleaning power of the brain to clear away some of those sort of toxic, sticky clumps of protein. And then in Liverpool, we're funding research that's trying to understand how the cell batteries are damaged and new ways to patch them up or repair them to sort of reboost the energy the cells need to produce dopamine. And then in Cardiff, we're funding research that uses this knowledge to work out whether we could boost energy in cells surrounding those damaged cells to help reduce damage to the affected cells. So as well as all these studies looking at the causes of Parkinson's in people that have Parkinson's already, we also need to know more about diagnosing the condition so we can find better ways to monitor and track progress. So one really vital bit of research that aims to better understand the early signs of the condition is called Predict PD. And this project aims to understand who's at high risk of developing Parkinson's within the general population. And that knowledge could help with earlier diagnosis of Parkinson's, but also early treatment options. And ultimately, the more we know about the early stages of Parkinson's, the closer we're going to be to finding better treatments and a cure. And so far, this project has recruited over 10,000 participants from the general population. So I mentioned earlier as well as looking at research to understand the causes of Parkinson's and working towards finding treatments that can help slow and stop the progression. We also need to find ways to improve quality of life for people living with Parkinson's today. So I mentioned that we have our non-drug therapies funding stream, so that means no more pills. We know that different therapies are useful in Parkinson's, and there's ongoing research looking at the benefits and methods to deliver speech and language therapy, exercise, and mindfulness therapies. This might be delivered sort of using an app to deliver advice on kind of living well and mental health, for example, or are using an app or a wearable device to help monitor changes in symptoms. So although there's no treatment that can slow the progression of symptoms, we do know that physical activity is really, really important, and research has shown that it can help slow down progression. So it's really important to encourage patients with Parkinson's to keep up with regular exercise because there's no treatments currently, but exercise is the one thing that we know might be able to help slow down progression. Another area of interest is looking at using sort of gentle electrical stimulation devices. You can see that one in the bottom right of the screen there. That can be used to activate the cells and boost the release of chemical signals to the brain. So one example is that handheld device there. And people who use this, participants in trials, you just have to hold it to your neck, and it's thought to activate cells that can potentially boost dopamine and help improve concentration and walking in Parkinson's. And that research is ongoing currently in Newcastle, and they are looking for participants as well. So if you're in Newcastle, I'll tell you a bit later about how you can find that study and help your patients to get enrolled. And there's been lots of interest in wearable technology as well within the Parkinson's community. And we're currently funding a project called Q-Band, where participants wear a wrist-worn device. It sort of looks like an Apple Watch, but it's definitely not as expensive as an Apple Watch. And that vibrates and sends small cues to the wearer to remind them to swallow. And so that study's hoping to help people with Parkinson's manage drooling symptoms, because there's currently no treatment without side effects that can help people with Parkinson's manage drooling symptoms. And it can be quite a difficult symptom as well, people with Parkinson's tell us. And that study, Q-Band, with the wearable device, is looking for participants UK-wide. You can take part from home. The researchers just post the watch to your patient's door. So that's a really good one for people wanting to take part and not travel to sort of a research site or centre. And then we have the Parkinson's UK Brain Bank. So the Brain Bank is the only one in the world that's solely dedicated to Parkinson's research. It's based at Imperial College London, and the Brain Bank receives really valuable donations from people with and without Parkinson's across the UK. The brain tissue that people donate is invaluable in being able to provide access and information about the brain, so we can understand changes to the cells that are related to Parkinson's. And it's really through studying this tissue that we've learned about some of those clues that I mentioned earlier as to sort of why and how Parkinson's might progress. So alongside all of that research that I've already mentioned, we also have developed an initiative called the Parkinson's UK Virtual Biotech. And so the Virtual Biotech is a drug discovery and development program that really aims to fast track promising potential treatments through the research pipeline. So 2 large clinical trials funded through our Virtual Biotech program, both aim to address symptoms of Parkinson's psychosis. So that's hallucinations, like seeing things or hearing things that aren't there. I think a lot of people with Parkinson's say the way that they experience hallucinations is sort of sensing a presence in the peripheral, which can be quite unnerving and not a very nice symptom to experience. So hallucinations is one symptom of Parkinson's psychosis, and then delusions as well, which is also not a very nice symptom to experience, which is sort of believing things that aren't true. It can often be like about your family or your partner, and it can cause quite big issues with families as well. So another important symptom to look at. It's a really huge unmet need. The symptoms affect lots of people with Parkinson's. I think it's around 1/3, it's thought. And there's currently no specific treatments approved that you can access across the UK. So one of the studies looking to sort of help manage these hallucination and delusion symptoms is one called CAN-PDP, and that's looking at whether CBD, so a cannabidiol, which is the non-psychoactive part of the cannabis plant, might be helpful to reduce psychosis in people with Parkinson's. And so the team on CAN-PDP are recruiting patients to take part in a 12-week-long trial to see if that CBD can help reduce those psychosis symptoms. And that's ongoing as well. And we've got sites across the UK for that one. And then TopPat is another study that's looking to repurpose an anti-sickness drug called ondansetron, and that's already licensed for use in patients with cancer, which means if it does show a positive effect, if it does show a substantial effect to reduce those hallucinations, it means that we can get that treatment accessible for people with Parkinson's much sooner, which is really great. And so that trial is investigating whether taking ondansetron might reduce or prevent hallucinations in people with Parkinson's. Overall, they need to recruit a total of 300 people with Parkinson's who experience hallucinations. And I think there's currently about 40 sites across the UK. That's all 4 nations in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England as well. So there should be a site hopefully near everyone, and there's more opening as well all the time. So both are currently looking for more for participants, and I'll show you later how you can sort of find details and have a look if you have a site near you, if you think you might have patients that would like to take part or benefit from taking part. So I'm going to hand over to Laurel now, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how you can sort of find research for your patients to take part in, or how you can support your patients to find research for them as well.
Thanks, Alex. So as Alex has already explained, there are actually up to 40 different symptoms that people with Parkinson's can experience, both motor and non-motor. And no one experiences them all, but that's an awful lot of symptoms for which we're trying to find treatments. And the development of new treatments and continually improved clinical care for people with Parkinson's is only possible with clinical research. And clinical research trials are often delayed because of the difficulty of enrolling participants. Some research has shown that up to 45% of clinical studies are held up due to lack of participant recruitment. But people with Parkinson's say that they want to hear more about trials so that they can take part in research. So we've got the trials that need participants, and we've got people with Parkinson's saying they want to take part. So if healthcare professionals can use their influence to push, to spread the word about opportunities to take part in research, we'll be able to push promising research forward and get better treatments faster for people with Parkinson's. Next slide, please, Alex. A survey of Parkinson's UK members found that 70% of people affected would like to be offered the opportunity to take part in research studies as part of their clinical care. Parkinson's research has actually often not included people from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds, which means our understanding of the condition doesn't reflect everyone. But Parkinson's UK has now put together a steering group of people affected by Parkinson's from minority ethnic backgrounds, who have highlighted the importance of putting even more effort into talking about research to patients from minority ethnic backgrounds. This will really help us to improve equity around access to research opportunities and help to improve our understanding of the condition for everyone. Next slide, please, Alex. So if people like myself take part in research trials, there are quite a lot of benefits for us. We can gain knowledge and hope by taking part. Sometimes if we take part in a clinical trial, we get white coats in front of us, by which I mean we get to spend more time with experienced Parkinson's specialists. Mostly we get one 15-minute appointment a year with a neurologist and one with a nurse if we're lucky. So that's an awful lot of time when we're not getting professional help with our condition. So taking part in research can actually be educational and get you a bit more time with professionals who can help you learn more about your condition. It can be empowering to take part in research, and it's not only the person with Parkinson's who can take part. Partners and families can take part often as controls if they're interested enough to find out more about it. For lots of people with Parkinson's, it gives us more of a feeling of control over what we're experiencing. As I said earlier, to be given a diagnosis of Parkinson's is pretty devastating, and little areas of your life where you can take back a measure of control are very important to us. You can get to a stage with Parkinson's where you hope that the research will be successful, but you think that possibly because you've had it so long and it's taken such a toll on your body, that even if a cure is found, it's probably not going to help you. But the thought that it's going to help future generations is quite empowering in itself. And obviously, if you've got the small number of people who've got the genetic type of Parkinson's, it's very important for future generations of your own family to find something to control this condition. Many people are still unaware that there is the opportunity to take part in research as patients. And we can't make progress without clinical research, as I said at the beginning. So your role as trusted healthcare professionals can often be key in telling your patients about these opportunities and encouraging them to pursue them. Next slide, please, Alex. And taking part in research does not have to mean taking pills by any means. Not everyone wants to take part in a drug trial. A lot of people with Parkinson's are already taking a vast number of pills each day. But research, information gleaned from questionnaires, from filling in studies, from talking to researchers face-to-face or on a Zoom call or over the phone, from testing new devices, as Alex has already said, can help to build up the overall picture for researchers to help them understand how to tackle the symptoms that we experience. So some surveys can be done online, some can be done by post, some can be done on the phone. There are lots of opportunities out there. And I think Alex is going to go through some slides now that will show you how to point you in the direction of research opportunities for your patients. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Laurel. So we really do understand that it is not always appropriate to talk to your patients about taking part in research when you're doing visits or if you have clinics or consultations. You often might not have enough time or capacity. We really do understand that. But we do also know that more people with Parkinson's would like to be offered the opportunity to take part than are currently being offered. And we do really need more people to take part in research in order to get to those better treatments faster. So you might work in sort of a research active area or be linked to a research active hospital. And maybe you already signpost or you want to signpost your local research projects or your local research team, which is great if you do. But if you aren't working in a research active area, you aren't sure, or you aren't comfortable talking about research in detail, maybe you don't have the capacity to talk about specific opportunities to take part in research or know what's happening all the time, because you must have lots of different patients with lots of different conditions. That's completely understandable. There is so many other ways that you can help push forward promising Parkinson's research without knowing any of the specifics and without using really much of your time, your learning time to do so, without using much of your kind of visit time or consultation time to do so. So one of the sort of most simple ways of signposting patients to research is just by sharing a leaflet. So lots of healthcare professionals we work with often include our research leaflets sort of in their clinic letters, or they'll take them around with them and hand them out like sort of at the end of a visit. Or, you know, maybe you have a center that you work from and you could pop them in the waiting room so people with Parkinson's can come across them when they're coming to visit, coming to an appointment. But our Get Involved with Research leaflet is a really great introduction to sort of what research is. So everything Laurel's just spoken about, that it's not just clinical drug trials, it's also filling in surveys, it's also having conversations with researchers and having FaceTime with Parkinson's specialists. And it's also having devices delivered to their home and trialing them at home that might actually help them manage their symptoms right now as well. So it goes over all of that, the leaflet, what research is, and it does a bit of myth busting as well. So all the questions around what does research involve all came from our volunteers with Parkinson's in our steering group. So they're all questions that people with Parkinson's want to know before they kind of take a step to think, oh, maybe I will get involved with research or see what's out there. Our team as well at Parkinson's UK is dedicated to supporting people with Parkinson's through the research process. So it's not on you to kind of field those questions. We have an email and phone number that comes to me or sort of one of my other six or seven team members, and we can talk to people on the phone about questions they might have, concerns they might have about taking part in research, and we can help them find studies to take part in on the phone, on email as well. And they can call us anytime. So our contact details are also on the leaflet. So that's why giving out that leaflet is just a great thing. It's everything that they need and you need there in one place. They're free to order on our shop and free delivery as well. And you can scan that QR code on the screen there if you like now, just have it saved in your browser. Otherwise, if you just go to our website, find the Parkinson's UK online shop and search research, you can order as many as you want. So if you want to order a big batch of 100 at a time, so you've just got them saved, you can just order 10 or 1 to start off with to have a look. Completely up to you. You can go back and make as many orders as you like. Within the research leaflet, the first thing we ask the reader to do is sign up to our Parkinson's UK Research Support Network. So once your patients are signed up, they'll receive monthly emails with opportunities to take part in research. They'll receive the latest research news, so updates like what we talked about earlier, current research projects that are happening now, so they can find out what's happening, how close we're getting to better treatments, how close we're getting to a cure as well. And then they'll also get information about upcoming research events, so they can come and hear us talk and hear other people like Laurel talk about what's happening in Parkinson's research and how they can get involved as well and meet people through that as well. So all the opportunities to take part in research that we share through our emails, through that Research Support Network emails, range from online questionnaires, from all the way to sort of discussing their experience on the phone with researchers or on Zoom, to trialing new treatments and devices at local research sites and universities. We share a lot of regional opportunities as well as UK-wide things. So there should be something hopefully for everyone to take part in, or everyone to kind of spark their interest in. We also share opportunities for people with Parkinson's at all stages to take part in research and all across the country, as I said, and opportunities for loved ones and carers to get involved as well. And if you yourself want to kind of stay up to date with what's happening in your local area, what's happening in Parkinson's research, we'd really encourage you to sign up for those emails. You're very welcome to as well. So you can stay in the loop if you want to, if you have a bit more time to know what's happening in your area and in Parkinson's research. So as well as the Research Support Network, we also have our Take Part Hub, which is a page on our website where you can search for a complete list of studies that are currently looking for people to take part. So you just pop in yours or your patient's postcode, and you can find local research opportunities for your patients to take part in. Same as before, there's surveys on there, there's sort of opportunities to talk on the phone with the researchers, there's opportunities to trial devices, there's sort of opportunities to take part in online therapy programs, all sorts of really, really big varied number of things. And there's always something that can be done from home. So people that aren't able to leave the home can take part as well. And there's things that can be done on the telephone or by post for people that aren't online. And then there's lots of online research as well. All the opportunities to take part in research that we feature in our emails and on our Take Part Hub have all been screened manually by our research team. We check everything we share has ethical approval, and all research studies looking for people to take part in have gone through a really thorough review process that's designed to make sure that everyone taking part in research is kept safe, and all research has to go through that process. So just to show you what sort of what you'll look at when you go on the Take Part Hub or when you get one of our emails, they look like this. So they're really simple. We have a quick summary at the top of what the research is looking into. So in this example, researchers at the Uni of Reading are trialing an online therapy program for people with Parkinson's, which we know is hard to access as well. So it's like another benefit, I think, for someone to take part in. And we also share who the researchers are looking for. So just sort of a top line eligibility criteria, what's involved in taking part. So we always have the time commitment and information about if you can get travel reimbursed or time reimbursed if you take part as well. And then we provide the researchers' contact details Usually there is a phone number on there, not for this one, but usually we try to provide an email and a phone number so your patients can get directly in touch with the researchers to find out more information and to actually get enrolled as well. So aside from that, this is what we have now, but we do have the ability to sort of look at how we can better support you and other healthcare professionals to talk to your patients with Parkinson's about research and to signpost your patients to us. So be really keen to hear from you, sort of what are your motivators to signposting your patients to research? What barriers do you have? Do you have any ideas of what we could do at Parkinson's UK to help you do that? We're really keen to hear. So really happy to get emails from anyone or have follow-up conversations. You can see our email there. It's participation@parkinsons.org.uk. And we really appreciate if you do have the time to complete our surveys. Just 4 questions, should take kind of 3 to 5 minutes if you have time, but we'll also share the link afterwards with the recording. And then another thing that you might be interested in is our Excellence Network at Parkinson's UK. So you can join that to collaborate with the Parkinson's community and also continue to learn about Parkinson's care. So our Excellence Network brings together and supports health and social care professionals to share best practice, provide resources, provide education, and drive improvements to services for people with Parkinson's and their families. So you can sign up to the Excellence Network newsletter if you like, and you can get the latest news. You can find out about all the education they do towards improving your learning of Parkinson's and improving Parkinson's care. And we also run events for professionals like you all across the country. So you're welcome to join those as well. You can find out about those if you sign up to the newsletter or on the website. And you'll also find announcement of most training courses. So there's lots of training on the website. Some of it you sign up to, some of it you can just kind of click in and get going. And most of the training is free of charge as well. So I'd really recommend you going on there if you're interested in kind of learning more and improving your sort of Parkinson's knowledge and Parkinson's care knowledge. It's just parkinsons.org.uk/excellence network. And then just lastly, we also have a helpline at Parkinson's UK. If you have any questions or if your patients have any questions about Parkinson's, so our helpline is free, it's confidential, and it provides support to anyone affected by Parkinson's. So we have advisors on the phones, including specialist Parkinson's nurses, and they can provide information and advice about all aspects of living with Parkinson's. So that's from medical issues, symptoms and treatments, employment and benefits, health and social care support, emotional support. You can find out about local activities. We have local groups and exercise classes, most of them free across the UK for people with Parkinson's to join. And then also our advisors can help signpost other sources of information. So if you really want a bit more like personal advice for yourself or your patients, I would definitely recommend calling the helpline. You can also email them at hello@parkinsons.org.uk. And if you want to, your patients can be put in touch with a local Parkinson's advisor. That can be in person or over the phone. They'll have one point of contact if they need more local or in-depth support. And that's us. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Laurel, for co-presenting with me. And do we have any questions?
Thanks for that, Alex. So questions will be going on to the chat. If anyone's got any questions for either Alex or Laurel, please pop them onto the chat now. Whilst they're coming in, we'll just run through a little bit about seating, how to prescribe seating for those with Parkinson's. And then once we've got all the questions in, we'll come back to you, if that's okay. So in terms of seating for Parkinson's, it's been really useful finding, listening to Alex and Laurel, the information we've got there. Obviously, we found out a lot there about the condition and about the support that's available, but obviously having the correct seating for people is really important, because a lot of the patients will then spend a lot of time in their seating. So it can help, as we heard there, it can actually help the patient's well-being to if they're seated correctly, or if they're feeling more comfortable and secure and safe. Um, it can actually help the condition and alleviate some of the symptoms that are available. We obviously also, when we're thinking about it, we want to make sure that the patients are kept safe, because as we know, falls are something which can happen a lot more in patients with Parkinson's. So there's some statistics here. The average male spends 78 days sitting per year, average female 74 days, which is obviously a huge amount of time for the body to be in that position, and particularly if the body is already suffering from some other kind of condition, such as Parkinson's. So we want to make sure that when we're seating people, we actually have them sat as well as we possibly can. So some of the features to look for in seating is tilt in space. So obviously a lot of the chairs that are available to patients have this functionality, but it's one of the really important ones, because what tilt in space does is it actually keeps the hip angle the same, which takes a lot of the pressure off the posterior and the sacrum, and it results in patients being able to sit in the chair for a longer period of time comfortably and without developing pressure sores. If you just have a recline like traditional sort of chairs, then the hip angle opens and you can actually lead to like back pain, and patients can become uncomfortable. They can then need to or want to stand up and move around quicker, which in turn leads to more possibility of a fall or other kind of damage. Another one is the vertical rise or the variable angle lift. So obviously, as Parkinson's or other neuro conditions progress, it can be harder to stand and it can be less safe. So variable angle lift, not sure if everyone's familiar with that, but it's a much slower, a much more gradual rise. So the chair comes up more vertically for a longer period of time and has a shallower rise. This means that patients can feel more in control of when they're moving to stand. So if they've still got some mobility, they can move themselves forward on the chair, and then just use the push off the armrest to give them that little bit of extra help to stand. Alternatively, as the chair or as the client's conditions progress, you may just take the chair back to being a standard rise, which obviously gives them that extra lift. Pressure relief is also really important, because as we've seen there from the amount of time people spend sitting, if they're comfortable in the chair, if they feel safe in the chair, they may want to stay in the chair. But obviously, if you're going to stay in the chair for long periods of time, we want to make sure that we're giving them the most comfortable materials that there is possible. So really important to have things such as at least visco foam, which is a medium pressure relief, preferably something like honeycomb gel, which would be high pressure relief. Important for the fabric to be waterproof, because obviously potentially incontinence could be an issue there. So we want to make sure that the chair stays in usable condition at all times. Something we've been working with more recently is a fabric which is an open weave and is breathable for like the backrest area, helps patients to regulate the temperature. Obviously important if they're going to be in there for a long period of time. Positioning supports can be really useful. So if you may have a patient, as Laurel mentioned, there's over 40 different aspects of the condition or ways it presents. Sometimes there can be things like such as postural leans or other movements, kyphosis possible. So it's important to be able to adapt the chair to be able to cater for that and to support as patients' conditions change. So you can have things such as firm laterals, but you can also do a huge amount with adaptations to using different cushions. So you can see from the image there, we have a whole range of supports which can be designed to help patients as their conditions change. So we have a couple of products that we particularly recommend for Parkinson's. The first one is the Lento Mobile, which is it's a portable chair. So you can move it from room to room. You can even move it with the patients inside, but it's a very adaptable. So um, you can actually change the width, the depth, the height. You can change the whole cushioning. It can be reused with different patients. So if you have if you have a range of patients, or you have a loan store or something like that who you regularly take chairs out from, then this is a great solution for them, because the same chair can actually be reused for many different patients, and it can progress with the patient as their condition changes. You can change the backrest cushions, you can change the seat cushions, the pressure relief, all of these things, all within the same chair. As the disease progresses even further, if it gets to the point where the patients are not standing anymore, where they're hoisted, then we recommend the neuro chair, which we initially designed it with Huntington's in mind, but obviously it works very well with other neurological conditions too. And one of the key aspects here is we've built a frame which is very strong, and we've designed it so that the chair is a very comforting chair. It almost hugs the patient, and particularly if the patient is struggling with communication, or if they feel if they're not feeling calm, then this is a really good product for them, because it actually gives them the sensation that they are in a very safe cocooning environment, and gives them the reassurance that they feel safe in there, and that in turn can reduce the symptoms. So there's a number of factors to consider when you're carrying out a seating assessment. Obviously, if they're on the screen here, but they are also available on our website, or you're very welcome to call and book an assessment with one of our assessors, who will come out and run through these with you. But there's obviously how people present physically. There's a cognition, skin integrity, continence, and any postural support required. But it is a lot to remember. This is all available from our website and will be in the slides. But at any time, if anyone's looking for any advice on seating patients, they're very welcome to have a joint assessment with one of our assessors, or even just to ring for some advice. So I'll just move to the questions and answers. So it's been obviously been very comprehensive, but there's one question here for you, Caroline. For you, Alex, from Caroline. Is hyoscine still a treatment option for managing drooling?
Thank you, Caroline. I'm not aware if hyoscine is still a treatment for managing drooling. I do know that I think the NICE clinical guidelines suggests that you should only consider drugs once speech and language therapy has failed. And so always should go to speech and language therapy as a first option. I know Botox is into the salivary glands as a potential treatment, as well as radiotherapy and also surgical treatments such as salivary gland removal. But obviously all are quite kind of invasive. Yeah. But if you're able to share your email, Caroline, or pop us an email after with that question about hyoscine, I can find out for you and get back to you.
No, that's brilliant. That's very comprehensive. Thank you for that, Alex. So it's been very good what we've had here. I was really interested in the amount of options there are available in terms of research. There's much more than I actually knew. There's a question from Teresa asking if there's any funding for seating that you're aware of in terms of research, or through Parkinson's organisation or anything like that.
I'm not aware of funding for seating through Parkinson's UK, but again, if you're able to pop in an email, I can find out from the relevant team for you. Thank you.
Yep, no, that's fine. So, yeah, thanks again, Alex and Laurel. Really useful, really interesting. And Parkinson's is obviously a very widespread condition. There's a lot of sufferers out there with it, and patients, and it's been great to find out a little bit more about it and see the resources that there are available. And I'm sure this will be absolutely useful for everyone. The recording will be made available and the slides will be made available. But I think that's us for today. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Alex and Laurel. Bye now.